What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Event Marketing Redefined. We are live at Exhibitor Live 2024. We are in Nashville. I'm sitting here. Tara, what's your last name?
Jones.
Jones. Tara, why did you laugh when you said Jones? Because it's like a regular, because it's a common last name.
My maiden name was Schweitzer.
Okay.
So Jones is just when people are like, yeah, Tara,
Schweitzer to
unique name, Jones.
Schweitzer to Jones, man.
Yeah, it was really easy. I moved up in the alphabet.
Awesome. So you are here. You're in the CTSM program. We're actually just talking, and you were saying how you had come pre-COVID, and now you came back. You decided to come back. What's made you come back? What's made you come here?
I mean, first and foremost, we were talking about education, but also to connect with peers in the industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you work for a company and you're independent or you're a contractor, you don't get to work with other event professionals. And, you know, it's not realistic to think at a show that you're going to have time to go over and talk with your exhibitor colleagues from another competitor or another exhibit. So here we're all the same people working towards common goals. A lot of knowledge sharing can be taking place. And then also, it's been a while since I've been in front of companies that can help make our booths better, that can help us automate processes, where I can get ideas to bring back to my organization and to my colleagues and see what we can do in the future.
That's cool. So you find value in the peer-to-peer. You want to be around other people like yourself, doing the job, having the same problems, being able to think tank and talk those things through.
Yep.
You met a couple of people yet?
Yeah, I was just in a session about how to make a small booth mighty. And there was a lot of conversation because around medical
Wait, did Cody teach that?
Yes.
Morton? I know Cody. Cody, shout out Cody, was on our podcast a little while back.
Okay.
She was on last year at Exhibitor Live, and then we brought her on the podcast, and then she was actually in our class this morning.
Yeah, she moderated a great session, and it was really interesting to hear about different ideas. I think the one thing that we all kind of took away is that there are a lot of things to do. We have to figure out what works best for the companies that we are organizing for.
Yep.
Fortunately, I work for the company that I do all my work for.
Okay.
So I know them fairly well inside and out. I know what's going to work. I know the industry that I work in. But it was interesting to hear different ideas. And I thought something at the end. I didn't speak up and say it, but somebody across the room said the exact same thing. So we're all very like-minded. That's
really cool. What's something maybe you're here that you are like hoping to hear conversation about, that you're hoping that to like get into a discussion about or learn about, anything like that?
I think if people are returning to events and trade shows, we haven't seen it to the numbers that were pre-COVID. And I know that's something everybody keeps saying, and we're kind of tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
But we're in the medical device industry, and so a lot of our attendees are clinicians of some sort, whether they're operators, nurses, physicians. And so we haven't seen the numbers. I actually just got numbers for a show we're going to in April, and was pretty surprised to see the number and how low it was at this point, just a couple of months.
Yeah.
So I'm pressure testing a lot of what we talk about within our company, because I work on a team of 3 trade show managers who manage Europe, Middle East, and then North America.
Okay.
And so it's interesting to get validation on what we sense just in our gut.
Yeah.
And to get some numbers and data behind that we can then share with our leadership and say, you know, we're not the only ones. We're actually maybe doing better than most or not doing as well as others. So I think it's a great opportunity to kind of reconfirm the years of experience that I have and know that others are perhaps struggling or excelling in similar areas.
Nice. What's kind of burning on your plate in terms of like something that you have to solve on your side that maybe you're hoping to take an insight and apply it?
Budget.
Look, tell me. Okay, go ahead.
How to do less with more.
How to do less with more. Imagine that, right? Imagine how to do less with more, probably.
Or more with less is actually
more with less.
I think the biggest thing is, and what was really great about the show, just the session right now, was, you know, you don't have to have the large island booths to make an impact.
No.
We have one show a year that we have an island in North America. In Europe, there's a couple more. But also, you know, there are a lot of industries, including ours, and places in the world where you have your 10 by 10, 10 by 20 square, you know, you get your structure, and that's it. Nobody gets an island booth. And so you're really having to figure out how to make an impact with that.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that I'm taking back from that is really the training of our staff. I think reimagining the people who are going to the shows. Not all salespeople are equipped to talk to people in large numbers. A lot of them do better with one-on-one customers.
Yes.
Just because it's somebody's region, I don't believe that that's a reason for them to go to a show.
Yeah.
If they can't engage, if they can't stand out, if they can't not grab somebody, but, proactively talk to somebody who's walking by.
Yeah.
I think that that's something we have to think about because we are having to do a lot more with less money, less people, less resources. And so we need people who are really going to provide impact on site. And so that was one thing that I was very interested in. And it's actually been, not so many sessions yet today, but 2 of the 3 sessions I've gone to have really focused on personnel in the booth. And so I think that's something a lot of people are going to have to focus in on, whether you're hiring outside folks to help you that are an extension of your team, or focusing in on the people within your own sales team who might be suited best for that kind of interaction.
Yeah, the whole idea of doing more with less is a really like scrappy.
Yeah.
It's an
Grassroots.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think we were talking about last night. Told you we had a dinner. We were doing this whole thing on like guerrilla marketing, and we're having this whole discussion on how like trade shows and events, like you need your guerrilla marketing hat on.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things you're saying is like, okay, I'm not just going to send Jessica or Dave because they're in that region. I need the person that is just lightning in a bottle or super personable or that fits the mold there. So when you do have less and you're trying to create more, you have to think things that maybe you might typically get lazy with.
Yeah, because you can't be spending so much money expecting people to just stand there and do nothing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of investment being made, even if the money is less than it has been in the past. There's still a large investment being made for these conferences. These people, and it's not just the investment you're making as a company, but the attendees, the investment they're making in the travel, in the registration, and in the time away from their own job, just like we are here today, to be able to have that kind of impact on them and make it valuable for their time. You can't just let people walk by and think that that is going to be acceptable. And it's just a rethinking and doing something a little bit different, because always doing it the way you did it before isn't an answer to why you would continue to do it in the future.
We had somebody with us last night who owns a company, but he's a marketer at heart, and they do a convention expo where they just crush it and they do such a good job. And he said something to me that I thought was really interesting in line with this, of like doing things differently and not just always doing what you normally do and like trying to be crafty. And he says this thing about going big in areas where your competitors do not.
Yeah.
So it's like finding this gap, being like, oh, wow, like nobody does anything on Tuesday night because of whatever. Let's throw the biggest party possible. Or no one does this, or like finding the area that is just unfilled with competitors and people and going all in. And that's being scrappy, guerrilla marketing, trying to think outside the box.
And also working with the associations a lot more on what options there are for sponsorship and for you to get your information out. What is on the page of the prospectus and what they usually do. A lot of them are also looking and really do want to bring attendees back. They want exhibitors to come. So you really do need to not be afraid to have conversations with your association partners. And there's a session either later today or tomorrow that I'm going to, that I'll be interested to hear ideas on how people are doing that.
Yeah.
If there's something that we saw work at conference A, but it's not offered at conference B,
Bring it to them. Yeah.
we bring it to them. We said, this was really beneficial for us. Is this something you'd be open to us doing?
Because you want the conference to be better too. So it's like, why not have us all in the same boat?
But it doesn't always have to be limited to what's in the prospectus and what the sponsorships are that are typically offered. Come with some new ideas, help the association be better partners. A lot of them are looking to be that kind of a partner and are looking for ideas. Yeah. And if you can monetize it, they're going to take your money for it.
Yes, they are.
So,
they are.
if it's something that
it's an understatement of the century.
Is a win-win, then, why not? But don't be afraid to look at ideas at conferences you go to or other ones that you exhibit at and bring those to the show management as perhaps an offering that you can do at theirs.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think like sometimes people can kind of like pit themselves against the association or against the contractor or different people, but like you're really kind of all in it together. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, you can only suggest so much, but essentially you're like, hey, I want this show to be great too. I want to show up and meet my customer and be engaged and
And I
do all
think
the fun
that's
stuff.
one of the benefits we have working in a healthcare industry is that at the end of the day, it is a lot about it's always about the patients,
Yeah.
right? And so there is a lot of compassion there and a lot of getting the information and pushing it out. And a lot of our association partners want to do that and want to be good partners, not just to their corporate sponsors,
Yeah.
but to the industry as a whole and to patients.
Mhm.
And so I think that's one thing that we have found really is nice for the industry we work in
Yeah.
because we're also in a very niche industry in healthcare. We're in blood donation,
Okay.
therapeutic apheresis. I worked for my very first healthcare company and we went to shows like HIMSS, which is like 30, 40,000 people.
Yep.
And when I came to this company, it was significantly less than our largest show a year in North America is 5,000 people. So it's significantly different in different parts of healthcare. But the one goal I would hope, knock on wood, is is the patients in healthcare and other industries that impact that.
You hope
But
so.
I think, you just want to be a good partner and you
Yeah.
have to think outside the box and you have to think about this guerrilla warfare, what is going to get you noticed and what is going to make you a reputable company. And you don't want to do anything underhanded. You don't want to
Yep.
do anything that would be out of turn to
Yeah.
have confidence or lack confidence in
Yes.
you as a company. But it is getting harder. I mean, things are not back to normal or whatever that was. So
You got to
it's
fight
been
to stand out.
interesting.
You got to fight to stand out.
Yeah, it's been fun. It keeps my job
Good.
creative
Yes.
and going, and it's never dull.
You mentioned earlier, like peer to peer, wanting to be around your peers, wanting to know what they're struggling with, what they're thriving with, what they're thinking, right? If you were, say you were with, I don't know, 20 peers for 48 hours, maybe at like a private retreat, hanging out, just spending time together, maybe some like think tank discussions. What would you want to talk about? What would be the topics that you would offer up that you would say, hey, I would love to sit here and jam with these 20 people for the weekend on A, B, and C?
I think a lot of it would maybe focus more on professional development, what we can do as humans, what we can do as people in the industry supporting one another. I've been doing this long enough that I never considered myself like a mentor. I always thought I was a mentee, but it's mostly because I was looking for a mentor. I never had one really, but I was always trying to learn from different people. And I love the idea of bringing people together and just learning about people from different industries.
Yeah.
I'm in healthcare. That's what I do on a daily basis. But there's a lot to learn from, engineering and construction and, computer science and, all these different companies that these people work for and, people that do the contracting. They get to work in the different industries and get to work with different people. So I think a lot of it would be connecting on a personal level.
Yep.
I think the other thing would be how do we continue to make this a fun industry to work in, in an industry that people want to be a part of, doing trade shows and events. I do meetings and events for the company that I work for too. And meeting planning, even though I think there's a component of that here, it's completely different
Totally different. Yeah, I agree.
than trade show management. There are a lot of transferable skills.
Yes.
But trade show management is not for the faint of hearts. There's so many vendors you have to work with. There's so many nuances that you have to manage. And it's not for everybody. But if you are logistics minded and you're creatively focused and you feel like you can really just herd all the cats together, then maybe it's for you. So I think it would be a nice opportunity to talk with people of all different backgrounds, different levels of experience, to bring up some of the things we talked about, attendance. How do you bring attention to a smaller booth?
Yeah.
How do you find value in the sponsorships you're doing? And do it with a small little group to maybe bring back ideas to a larger group or, back to your own individual companies and say, maybe we can't do it the way they would do it because we're in a regulated industry, but what component of this might work for us?
You can adapt it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I like what you said about the whole mentor thing, right? Like I once had a mentor of mine tell me that the minute that you become a mentee, you have to become a mentor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, man, it's like, I just got done through asking you to mentor me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just asking
Now I
you
have
for
to do it for somebody else.
I need help. But it was the idea that like, okay, the minute that you start, the minute, his point was that the minute that you ask for help, you have immediately seeked growth. You've made growth and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
But then you start having your conversations and you get mentored. Now you owe it immediately to go find somebody who may not be where you were at.
Yeah.
Because there's always people at different levels of
Yep.
their career or different phases. Go find somebody. And I always thought it'd be an interesting comment. And then listening to a lot of event marketers, what you're saying, super common.
Yeah.
In a good way, in the sense that the way you feel, so many event marketers want to feel that way. They want to be around other event marketers. They want to know what they're doing, how they're doing. They want a little bit of like, oh, I know, right? Like me too.
Yeah.
Or the videos we're just doing on TikTok or making these, we have these things that we're joking around with. And it's about like the way event marketers feel. Like, I'm an event marketer. Of course, my budget just got slashed, right? Like different things that, so that feeling is nice. And then you're able to grow kind of together.
Yeah.
So
I think the one nice thing about what we do that is different from the colleagues on my team, the marketers, the marketeers who are doing all full-blown campaigns around products, is I get to see at the end of the day something come to an end, and I get to see all my work come to fruition, right? I'm not pushing out a timeline. This trade show is going to happen whether we get our act together or not, or whether we meet the deadlines or not. And so I think that's the nicest thing about what we do is I find a lot of validation and excitement in, you know, AABB is coming this year. It's going to be in October, and then whatever it will be is going to be. And so I think that is what is different than other positions within companies or consulting agencies, and specifically marketing overall. And so I think that's just something I tie very closely to, is that I'm doing this and it's for this period of time and it's going to come to an end, and I get to see the fruits of my labor very quickly. Whereas people who work in other parts of marketing, you know, things get canceled, things get pushed out, deadline, you know, projects get canceled, products get canceled, you know, and things don't ever happen with it. So I think that's one nice thing about our industry is the trade shows are going to happen. They're never going to go away. There is a lot of value in that one-on-one. I work remotely, so I appreciate the value of also being here in person. Around other people who aren't the people I interact with on a day-to-day. I get to network with different people, get to understand their pain points. Maybe I have an answer for it or some guidance, and maybe they have some answer and guidance for me. So I think everybody here is probably a mentor and a mentee in some way. Even if you just answer a question or add onto a comment
without even realizing
session,
it.
you're doing something that's going to be something somebody can take back that they can maybe implement or just kind of noodle on a little bit.
There is, I feel like, a little bit of disconnect in the sense, like you're saying, when people get together, they're disconnected when they're apart. Everyone's doing the same job. People are thriving in one area, struggling in another, struggling in the same. So when people come together, they get to have these great conversations like, oh, I dealt with that. Oh, leads. Oh, engagement on the floor. Oh, you're talking, you're planning. Oh, you have to sell your stakeholders, your boss on this. Yeah, I know how that feels. So no, it's cool to see everybody get together. And it's nice to hear you talk about the peer piece, because it's something that we hear constantly running our podcast and talking to people, because I think it's a really valid thing that people want in the event space. And yeah, I mean, let's wrap it up. I think that was awesome. I think you did a great job.
Well, thanks.
Answered awesome questions.
Thanks for
Really,
having me.
really insightful. That was good stuff.